Hi everyone, this is Laura Hammock from the Marble Jar channel, and in today's video I will share my experience with ADHD Spin Out and talk with you about how to recover from it. I have some extremely recent experience with ADHD Spin Out. First of all, I realize this is not a term that most people are familiar with because I just made it up. But for those of you who have ADHD, I think you're going to be familiar with this experience. Here's the experience. You have something like 1 billion ideas careening around in your head. Each of these ideas or projects is going to take somewhere between 2 and 150 steps to complete. Some of the steps are things that you don't know how to do or things that you might find difficult. You have a feeling of urgency, like you need to get everything done at one time, but because that is literally physically impossible, you're finding it hard to get anything done at all or even know where to get started. It feels overwhelming, confusing, high energy, but super unproductive. That is what I'm calling ADHD spin out. So I spent all day yesterday in that very state, and it was really frustrating. I had a full day to get things done, and I got absolutely zippo done, and I was completely exhausted by the end of the day. So now, with a little bit of perspective, I have a better sense about what was going on there. And I thought I would share it with you just in case it's at all helpful. So I'm going to use a car analogy here. Many people, generally neurotypical people, have brains that move at a steady pace. They chug along at projects in a linear fashion, taking one step at a time. Their pace is slow and steady, and they're not burdened with having 10,000 different ideas pop up as they are getting stuff done. For those of us with ADHD brains, that's not the case. Our brains flow in 500 different directions all at one time. And even though we might be getting some things done, there's a frenetic quality to it. In addition, while we're working, we're being hit by thousands of different ideas that will endanger the process, meaning that at any moment we could get derailed and off onto some other project. Obviously, I'm generalizing here. Not everyone's brain works the same, but if you do have ADHD, you probably have some experience with this. When I have a lot of energy about a project, I can move really quickly through the initial steps. I have a pretty firm grasp of where I'm going, and it seems pretty clear how to get there. But inevitably, I will run into issues, either internal, like I don't know how to do something, or external, like I'm getting pushback or I'm getting some feedback from others that I need to go in a totally different direction. So back to my driving analogy. If you're driving your car slowly and you need to make an adjustment to your driving path, you just turn the wheel a bit. But if you are driving super fast, like those of us with ADHD brains are prone to do, and you need to make an adjustment, you have to hit the brakes, which is likely to put you into a spin out like this. So you get the analogy here, right? If you're going slow and steady, you can simply turn the wheel and adjust. If you're going 105 miles an hour, you have to hit the brakes in order to adjust, which can put you in a spin out. I think spin outs are inevitable when you're going super fast. And frankly, I'm not sure that there's any way to prevent them from happening. In other words, don't disparage your own brain. It works the way it works. Our job is to figure out how to work with it rather than trying to work against it. So I thought I'd take some tips from how to navigate safely during an actual car spin out in order to determine how to recover from an ADHD spin out. I think they're actually super relevant. The first tip is to stay calm. Frankly, easier said than done, but I think the point is important. Take a deep breath, work on lowering your emotional temperature, and try not to make any big decisions. Second tip, ease off the accelerator. In other words, don't try to get anything done just now. Just give yourself a moment to breathe without applying even more pressure to yourself to make progress. The third tip, steer in the direction of the skid. So I think this is the thing that I like the best. The bottom line is we have to kind of embrace the spin. We don't have to be stuck in it forever, but instead of pushing against it, we should just realize that it's part of the process. We're going to need at least a day or two or three to spin out before we can get our bearings. So just lean into it. The fourth thing is apply brakes and avoid sudden movements. Again, it's important to slow down or stop all progress so that we can start moving in a new direction. Making decisions in the middle of the spin out um, is going to lead to problems. Small decisions are okay. Big decisions need to be left until you've exited the spin. And the last thing is pull off the road. So once you've come out of the spin, pull over and take a moment before you continue on your journey. This is crucial. You need to take a breath and reorient yourself before you can make a shift onto the new path. Okay, that's all fine, but what does this mean in practice? I'm just going to share with you what worked for me yesterday to ease off the accelerator, steer in the direction of the skid, and pull off the road. First, I gave myself permission to just be in a spin for a moment. I haven't talked too much about liminal spaces on this channel, but I think they're important to understand. Liminal spaces, or I call them liminal hallways, are where you end up when you've left one room but you haven't quite entered the next room yet. You're standing in a bit of an uncertain hallway. That's a liminal space. They happen all the time, but generally they are full of uncertainty, and our brains don't like uncertainty, so they try to get out of them quickly. But they are really important to just be there, reorient ourselves so that we can make good decisions and step into the next room with both feet on the ground. The second thing is that I brain dumped. I don't know why I resist doing this, but it's almost always super helpful. I take all the ideas that are zooming around in my head and I put them down on a piece of paper. I mean, I don't necessarily mean this literally, like I dump my ideas into a spreadsheet, but everyone has a way that they like to do this. I give myself permission to do this in the messiest way possible, meaning it doesn't have to be orderly. It doesn't have to be bulleted. It can be a combination of project ideas and random thoughts that are popping into my head. It doesn't matter. It's all fine. I just get out of my head and out onto paper. Just doing this is enough to start pulling out of the spin. Once I have brain dumped, I can start to see what is a priority and what is not. When it's all in my head, I have a harder time determining this. I can start to see what are short-term projects and what are longer term. And I can see which projects need to be done as prerequisites for later projects. In other words, I can start to make sense out of the chaos. The next thing is that I force myself to choose 2 to 4 projects that are important right now. 3 is actually my lucky number. More than that, and I start to feel overwhelmed again. I take those 3 projects, I put them onto a new sheet, and I start breaking those projects down into doable steps or chunks. And then the final thing is that I schedule a check-in for myself in a month. So one way to prevent spinouts for me is to schedule regular check-ins to determine whether the projects that I'm devoting time to are still the most pressing concerns for me. Okay, so just to recap, spinouts are inevitable for ADHD brains because we are moving so fast. When there's an adjustment and a new direction, that's when we are susceptible to spinning out. Some of this is just embracing that reality. When we find ourselves in a spin out, it's best to calm down, apply the brakes, and do a brain dump. And then we can start to get some perspective and choose the 2 to 4 things or projects that are most important right now. From there, we can start to get our bearings again and move in that new direction. I'd love to know, is ADHD spin out something that you all have experienced? What ideas have worked for you? I'd love for you to share with everyone in the comment section below. And also sign up for my newsletter at www.laurahammocktherapy.com to get the latest on my videos, blog posts, and other things I'm working on. Thanks so much for watching.